Hi, this is Brian.
And this is Penny, and we will be talking about the Isabella Stuart Gardner Museum, which is located in Boston, Massachusetts. The museum opened in 1903, and it is a house filled with over 2,500 artifacts, paintings, tapestries, sculptures, pieces of furniture that were all purchased by a woman named Isabella Stuart Gardner and then placed in a house that she constructed and lived in for a while and opened as a museum.
All right, it was described as a Venetian style palace. It has a massive central courtyard with four floors. The fourth floor, Isabella Stuart Gardner herself lived in during the time she was still alive and the museum was open. Currently the central courtyard is inaccessible to walk in, but it was the source and location of epic parties that Ms. Gardner threw for her many Boston socialite friends.
Isabella Stuart Gardner put together what now stands as the only private art collection in which the building, collections, and installation were the creation of one individual. And she arranged it with a certain intention. She had a vision and had been elevated to a certain place in society thanks to her husband's and her own monetary upbringing and her social status in Boston. And she loved it and fed off of it, but then that also became the perpetuation of that image through being an individual who selected what were considered by consultants to be the finest pieces of furniture and amazing features of architecture, what was really popular, what was considered the best you could buy with American money at the time. And she found that it would be educational to the public to know what the best thing someone could purchase then was. So she really fed off of how she was represented as someone who was at the cutting edge and who would create a conversation, and decided to insert appreciation for art into the conversation and make it a really big deal. And this is something that had come into her life when she was traveling with her husband. She used to just collect a few artifacts that are on display now, and then she spent a lot of time with artists in an artist cooperative in Venice, and there just developed a love of art. And as her life went on and she realized that she had the money to have a legacy rather than using money in a very fleeting way, she invested wisely as she could to try to get the best money she could and preserve money to allow the public to see these pieces. And so she was really perpetuating an example of high society that she had been made, and then was sharing the best of that with the public by opening this museum, but tying herself up in it very much.
John Singer's Sargent was commissioned by Isabella Stuart Gardner to do a portrait of her in 1888. Now this portrait was very, very scandalous at the time. It was outside of the general aesthetic parameters of representing a woman of Isabella's status. There was a lot of skin visible. Her dress was definitely designed to show off her body and her curves, even though she was described as being a relatively plain woman of the face. Her body here is more of the object of desire than her face is. Looks to be in mid-conversation or mid-order. Her lips seem to be moving in a speech pattern. There's a very authoritarian suggestion here. It seems as if she might be telling the viewer or potentially even the artist what to do. Overall, what I took from the exhibition was a sense of privilege, an overwhelming sense of privilege. The economic privilege that Ms. Gardner had to be able to collect these works, the social privilege she had to be able to exhibit them, and ultimately the privilege that I have to be able to go and see this exhibition. It doesn't have a large entry fee. It's only $10 for off-the-street people, but still a student ID at a local institution gets you a discount. There's a message encoded in there. Its proximity to the MFA and to the downtown area as well also conveys certain notions of power and privilege.
The Isabella Stuart Gardner Museum is an incredible building to be in and striking space, but what it really stands to represent is the collection of a woman who was doing that collecting at a time when museums were really being explored as spaces to share certain ideas. And she's collecting things like signatures of people she thought were important social shapers, political figures, presidents, and artwork that really spoke